The winter is coming. And in winter, there's much less natural light available for your precious eyeballs. And yet, these globular pieces of evolutionary machinery crave illumination all year long, and you need to feed them properly to stay happy. German poet Johann Wolfgang von Goethe got it right. His last words were, more light, open the window so that more light may come in. So let's learn more about light and how to use it to transform your winter days and be happier and more productive. So why do we have to deal with something as unpleasant as winter in the first place? Let's start with the big picture. According to the widely accepted giant impact hypothesis, around 4.5 billion years ago, when the solar system was still forming, moonless Earth collided with a Mars-sized celestial body named Theia. The debris from the collision later led to the formation of the Moon, but the impact also caused the Earth to be tilted on its axis at around 23.5 degrees relative to its orbit around the Sun. This is called the axial tilt. So, as the Earth orbits the Sun, different parts of the Earth receive varying amounts of sunlight at different times of the year. When the North Pole starts to face away from the Sun, starting with the autumnal equinox in late September, we're beginning to experience chillier, shorter days, culminating in the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, which is the 21st or 22nd of December. And while the northern hemisphere is getting dark and chilly, the southern hemisphere basks in sunnier, longer days. So now, let's plunge into darkness and discover the severe consequences it can wreak on your health and well-being. According to the Cleveland Clinic, around 5% of the population experiences a serious case of seasonal depression. That's around 16 million people in the US alone. According to the National Health Service, serious seasonal affective disorder, SAD, also affects around 2 million people in the UK and more than 12 million people across Northern Europe. Plus, around 10 to 20% of the population in the Northern Hemisphere experiences a milder version of the affliction called the winter blues. Seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that manifests as days become shorter, there's less sunshine, and the temperatures plummet. It can last up to 6 months, starting in late fall and easing in late spring. But what are the causes of SAD? The major culprit here is the lack of sufficient sunlight exposure. Reduced exposure to natural light means that your circadian rhythm, aka the 24-hour internal clock in your brain that regulates cycles of wakefulness and sleepiness, is thrown off from its regular schedule, leading to a so-called phase delay. This means that your circadian clock nudges you to sleep longer because there's no sunlight available, making it difficult for you to wake up in the morning. Sunlight also helps regulate serotonin and dopamine, two neurotransmitters responsible for boosting your mood. That's exactly why you tend to feel happier and more energetic during long summer days. Your serotonin and dopamine levels also get a positive boost from vitamin D. But since there's not enough sunlight, you're prone to experience vitamin D deficiency. In fact, vitamin D deficiency is a major global issue. Around 1 billion people around the world have vitamin D deficiency, while 50% of the population has vitamin D insufficiency. To make things worse, since you're not getting enough light, your brain starts to release more of the neurotransmitter melatonin, which regulates your sleep patterns and mood. The lack of sunlight may lead to overproduction of melatonin, which causes you to feel extra sleepy and experience low energy levels in winter. Okay, so now that we understand SAD, let's quickly explore how we measure light exposure. We usually measure light in lux, which is a standardized unit of light level intensity, commonly referred to as illumination. A measurement of 1 lux is equal to the illumination of a 1 meter square surface that is 1 meter away from a single standard-sized candle. But how does it translate to real-life scenarios? Direct sunlight gives you an intensity between 32,000 and 100,000 lux. Ambient daylight gives you 10,000 to 25,000 lux, and overcast daylight gives you only around 1,000 lux. A regular room that you're sitting in during your short winter days gives you only around 500 lux. There's also color temperature measured in kelvins. Kelvins measure a spectrum of light ranging from 1000 kelvins to 10,000 kelvins. The higher the number, the cooler the light. For example, 2000 kelvins is an orange glow, like the one coming from a candle. 3 to 4,500 kelvins is a natural spectrum of light, like the one coming from the light bulbs in your office. Finally, anything above 6,000 kelvins is considered as cool light, like the one coming from sunlight. Here, we enter into the realm of color psychology. While warm orange glowy light puts you in a relaxed mood, cool blue color makes you more alert and energetic. That's because blue light increases your levels of cortisol, a neurotransmitter responsible for increasing levels of stress and alertness, which helps control your sleep-wake cycle. Blue light also helps control serotonin, which has a major impact on your mood. So the first clue here is that you want to expose yourself to light with as many lux and kelvins as possible, aka the enormous glowing orb at the center of our solar system. I've been aware of the way in which light regulates our mood for a long time, but I broadened my knowledge by learning from Professor Andrew Huberman from Stanford University, who released many great podcasts about using light to your advantage. He explains that there are photosensitive retinal ganglion cells at the back of your eye. These are neurons that communicate to the rest of the brain when it's daytime and when it's night. Since light doesn't reach the brain directly, your job is to expose these neurons to bright light as much as possible. Professor Huberman recommends exposing your eyes to sunlight without looking directly at the sun, of course, and without wearing sunglasses, for 2 to 10 minutes every morning. This will help regulate your circadian rhythm like nothing else. But there's more to it. To maintain healthy levels of vitamin D and mood-regulating neurotransmitters in your body, you need between 10 and 30 minutes of direct sunlight exposure per day. The more, the better. In spring and summer, 25% of the body, the hands, face, neck and arms, is exposed to the sun. And in these seasons, about 8 to 10 minutes of sun exposure at noon produces the recommended amount of vitamin D. But in winter, only 10% of the body is exposed. And nearly 2 hours of sun exposure at noon is needed to produce a sufficient amount of vitamin D. So again, we need as much sun exposure as possible. Professor Huberman recommends getting some natural light into your eyes ideally within 5 minutes after waking up, and definitely within the first hour of waking up. However, this may prove very tricky in winter when the sunrise starts at around 7 a.m., but the bright sunlight shows only at around 8 a.m. And even when it gets bright, often the winter sky is overcast, giving you a paltry 1000 lux, which is simply not enough. So, switching on your regular overhead lamps can help, but as indicated earlier, these only emit around 500 lux, even if they are really bright. Getting outside after the sun is up is highly recommended. But what if it's dark and cold outside and you want to feel alert right after waking up without waiting and feeling sleepy in the meantime? Alright, so the first thing that I figured out that is helping me tremendously to wake up in the morning during these winter months is a wake-up light. And it's just a lifesaver, basically. I don't know how I would wake up without it. Let me just show you how it works. Okay, so it's basically a regular alarm, but it has some great features. The main one, of course, is, you see, it basically becomes this kind of beautiful orb that will wake you up in the morning instead of you waking up to a loud alarm. So let me just show you what it can do. You can set two different alarms. Right now I'm just basically using just one to wake up at 7 a.m. Because it's always best to more or less wake up at the same time every day. But then you have some other cool options. You can just change, just use it as a regular lamp. And you can see that it goes to a pretty high brightness level. It has radio also. You can just set a timer for example, when you are going to sleep, so that for 20 minutes or 1 hour or 40 minutes, whatever, it's going to get gradually less and less bright, and ultimately it will just switch off, which is really nice. And the great thing about it is also that you can just turn off this LED display completely, so that when you are sleeping, nothing is really bothering you. You can really customize the way in which you want to wake up. So of course you can set the time, but then you have different settings for different sounds, basically. You have the birds, you have the waves, the ocean waves, you have a stream, just this kind of regular sound, or some chimes and bowls and things like that. So you can just set it up however you want. Then you can also set up the volume level, right? So it can be really, really loud if you want it to be. For example, if you want to set it a little bit further away from your bed, but I usually use just the lowest one, so it's very gentle. And then you can also set the light intensity level from 1 to 20. So basically it will get gradually brighter and brighter. And finally, you can set how many minutes before you wake up should it start to glow, basically. So you can even use from 10 to 60 minutes. I just go with 10, right? So 10 minutes before, let's say 7 a.m. It will start getting brighter and brighter. So this is really great. It's like 10 times better than a regular alarm clock, because a regular alarm clock will just jolt you awake, and this is not really good for your heart, and it also can be a cause for anxiety and other things. And in a subconscious way, you will basically start anticipating this kind of regular alarm, and it can be really stressful. But here with this thing, not only the light basically wakes you up, which is great, but also it's very mild and not stressful at all. Okay, so this is really great. And of course you can set up a separate alarm to be absolutely sure that you are going to wake up, so you can have a backup. And the other thing I wanted to show you is this light box, which is also super helpful. It's really small in size, and actually it looks very nice. Okay, and you also have a few different settings here. As you can see, it gives really bright light, but you have 3 different intensity settings. So you basically just press it, or if you just press and hold, it will turn off. You can basically set for how long should the light be on, and then it will automatically switch off So you can set the timer for 15, 30, 45, or 60 minutes. So that's great. But you can also change the temperature of the light. Okay, so this is the really kind of light, blue light that I like to use in the morning to wake me up. But you can also switch to a kind of orange glowy light. And here you also have different levels of intensity. And the intensity is really high. So basically it goes up to 10,000 lux. So on my phone, I have this app, the lux meter, right? I have this kind of app, and it basically kind of gives you an indication of the intensity of the light. So you can see that now we are in this kind of regular room, and it's pretty bright. So you have 2.6 thousand lux, but check this out. Let's just switch it on to this main bright blue light, and then let's just try to measure the intensity here. And you will see that the max was almost 20,000 lux. Perhaps you cannot, maybe like this. You can see that it achieved almost 20,000 lux. If we are, of course, measuring it from here. But usually when using this kind of lamp, it's best to, of course, put it at this kind of 45-degree angle. So you don't look at the lamp directly, but you just let it enter your eyes. And you keep it at around 50 centimeters away from your face. So my favorite thing is to just sit down in the morning, first thing after waking up, and basically go to the bathroom and drink some water. But then I just sit at my desk and I turn this thing on for around 20 minutes, and just at this kind of 45-degree angle, I let this light come into my eyes, and it has really made a tremendous difference in my energy levels. So I will put links to both of these products in the description, so you can check them out, or their equivalents, and I highly recommend them. Okay, so now that you've learned a little bit about this productive morning wintry routine, let's explore some other ways in which you can avoid winter blues. So the first and most obvious way would be to exercise outdoors while it's still bright. This is an excellent idea because then you are combining natural sunlight exposure with great physical exercise. So you are basically combining two different modalities that can help you become more energized and more productive. So you're getting all of this great natural light into your eyes while also exercising. And exercise is, of course, known to greatly enhance your mood, sometimes even better than a prescription medication. So if you can just go out for a brisk walk while it's still bright, or perhaps hop on your bike and go for a nice ride, or maybe have a little jog, or play with your dog, or just do any type of physical activity while outdoors in winter, this is a great idea. So another great way to get a little bit more of sunlight exposure during these winter months is to chill on your balcony. I'm really, really grateful for the balcony I have here in my apartment. because during my breaks, my work breaks, basically I work for around 52 minutes, and then I always try to take a 10-minute break. So during these breaks, I'm trying to get out into the natural sunlight. Another great way to alleviate the symptoms of the winter blues is to meditate as much as possible. So I have already shown you how I combine meditation with light box therapy. So this is, I think, a great routine you could espouse. But just any form of mindful meditation is going to be helpful. So even 10 to 20 minutes per day is already enough to for you to experience a boost in mood. Another great way is to go to sauna as often as possible. So I have a sauna in my gym. So after each workout, I basically hop into this dry sauna for around 15 to 20 minutes. And I've noticed that it really has a tremendous positive effect on my mood. So if there is a sauna in the vicinity, you should take advantage of it as much as possible. It's also great to practice gratefulness. So you can have a little gratefulness journal, or perhaps you can just adopt a habit of saying a few things that you are grateful for each day after waking up. And you will see that when you realize that you are relatively healthy and that everything is more or less fine and that you are not in great suffering, you will basically quickly shift your focus to these positive things. And basically gratefulness is one of the best ways to do that. It's also great to take time to hang out with people and animals and get outside, go into nature. A lot of us have this tendency to isolate ourselves during these long winter months, but it's exactly the opposite of what you should be doing. Try to spend as much time as possible with people that are close to you, because this is probably, after sunlight and exercise, the top way to boost your mood. And let's not forget that you can also take vitamin D supplements. So I'm taking vitamin D every day, basically, for 1,000 IU. So that's that's quite higher, actually, than the recommended dose. But it's been proven that actually if you are trying to supplement, the dose should be much higher. So I would recommend that as well, since you are not going to get enough vitamin D every day from sunlight exposure. One more great tip is to open the window while you are working. So my desk is placed right next to a window, and if it's a really nice and bright or sunny day, even during the winter, I will just open it so that some of this natural light can just come into my eyes. Okay, so finally, let's explore a few tips on how to deal with blue light exposure later in the day. Because in the morning, you want to get as much blue light as possible into your eyes, because this will help you to wake up and just regulate your circadian rhythm and all of the things that we've mentioned in this video. But later in the day, this basically neural machinery that we have in our brain is set up so that it will react pretty dramatically to a lot of blue light later in the day. So then it can disrupt your circadian rhythm. So when the sun has already set, it's much better to avoid blue light because it will keep you awake. So there are a few ways in which you can do it. The first one is to use blue light blocking glasses. So you can get them on Amazon or wherever for around $20. So that's a really good investment. The other thing is to just stop looking at really bright screens. So for that, you can either decrease the brightness of your screens, or you can use a reader mode or a night shift mode, so that the color temperature of the light is going to be lower. So it's going to be, it will have a warmer color. So that's going to be really helpful. And then it's really important to turn off overhead bright lights in the evening, and just try to use lamps that are more at the level of your eyes or below, and also bulbs with warmer color temperature. And finally, when you wake up in the middle of the night because you need to go to the bathroom or whatever, just do your best to avoid turning on any lights, because this can really disrupt your rhythm like nothing else, because your melatonin levels are really high and you are really sleepy and you are submerged in darkness. And then when you turn on that kind of bright light, you are basically disrupting the equilibrium in your body, right? So I hope this video was helpful. I did my best to explain all of these things in a simple way. So if you like this video, you can consider subscribing, liking it, sharing it with others. And I hope it's going to help you to avoid the winter blues, so that even during these long winter days, you are going to be happy and healthy.